The capitalist truly has a perverse way of thinking. A lot of that perverseness could be seen in this quick little 10-minute video done by capitalist Stefan Molyneux. Let's take a look at what he's talking about and see the mindset of the capitalist and why it should be such a repugnant thing to even consider yourself a capitalist, let alone take pride in it.
Hey everybody, it's Stefan Molyneux from Freedomain Radio. Hope you're doing well. Time for your daily argument. Today, my friends, we are dipping into the highly dangerous intergalactic realm of killer automation robots that eat the unemployed and crap the poor. Yes, we're talking about the myth that automation creates unemployment.
Now, that's no myth. I mean, that is an actuality. Once your job becomes automized, you lose that job. So you'll, of course, have to start the process of finding another job. But while you're in that process, you're unemployed. Therefore, the automation has made you unemployed. And he even understands this because he goes on to contradict that statement not even 2 minutes down the road.
Lost some demand from the one guy or the couple of guys who've been thrown out of nail jobs or whatever, but
let's continue on to his nail analogy so you can see what he's referencing here with the nail makers losing their job.
So here's how the standard myth goes. You have some medieval worker who takes a whole day to produce 10 nails. Then some jerkazoid capitalist monocle-wearing monopoly man comes along with some machine that produces, with just about the same amount of time, 1,000 nails. So you have 990 nails where you didn't have them before. Because you have 100 times more nails than you had in the past, 999 out of 1,000 nail makers is unemployed. They have to run through the ditches eating dandelions and preying upon squirrels for their sustenance. And because they're unemployed, they're no longer making money.
So he contradicts his opening statement of automation does not cause unemployment when he just says himself 99% of the nail makers are put out of work by the automation. And then he goes on to kind of ridicule their unemployment. They have to run through ditches, kind of mocking it, making fun. Oh, woe is them. You know, now they're going to starve. Well, in reality, yeah, if you're living paycheck to paycheck like most working class people are doing, searching for that job, however long it takes to find another job that you can fit into with your skills, which if you're working a warehouse job or a nail making job, obviously you're only going to be available for certain jobs. While you're going through that period, yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be moments of struggle, especially if you have a family to feed as well. This is at the root. This is why I find libertarianism and capitalism, these beliefs in it, these ideologies, so disgusting because they're so self-centered. And this guy, even though he has good content out there, right? Even though, you know, I don't want to personally attack, but this is the mentality that even in what he thinks sounds completely normal and rational is disgusting. And he's mocking and using these little tricks, and that we'll get into as he continues on speaking, to try to ridicule anyone with a thought process that goes against his beloved free market and his beloved capitalism. Because as he downplays the struggle of the working class, and never mind the working class is already fighting illegal workers, they already have to deal with that. They already have to deal with a union that has more political interest than actual interest of workers. And now they're dealing with the threat of automation. And this is something to be mocked by the capitalists. Oh, their struggle while they're looking for work, while they're put out of jobs by these robots, by automation, by these computers. Oh, it's them running through ditches, eating dandelions, chasing squirrels. No, it's real struggle. It's real struggle when you lose your job. It's real struggle when you're living paycheck to paycheck. And you're put out of your job, especially when you're put out of your job by a goddamned machine. It's nothing to mock. This is the perverse capitalist mindset here. It's very, at its root, it's me. And that is probably the most disgusting aspect of it. And it's on full display in this video. Like it's on full display in numerous videos put forth by libertarians, individualists, and capitalists.
Because they're no longer making money, their demand for goods and services collapses. And that means because there's less demand, more people are thrown out of work because they have no one to sell to, and then you get this vicious Death Star snowballing that wipes out civilization just because of 100 times nails. So
once again, notice how he sets up this false premise that automation is going to lead to the complete destruction of the world. No one I've run across, I've read 2 specific works on the automation problem, Race Against the Machine and Rise of the Robots. And in neither of those works, and in neither of any of the videos I've seen on this topic, has anyone made the claim that automation is going to destroy the whole world. Of course, there's people like to pontificate on theories of the Terminator scenario where artificial intelligence may, if it comes to consciousness, may realize it's superior to humans and what does it need humans for, and then you have the whole Terminator scenario going on. But that's, I guess, science fiction or science future theorizing. That's completely different than what he's talking about with automation. So they take these examples and push them all the way to their extreme because they're easier to attack like that. His idol, Stefan's idol, Ayn Rand, was notorious for that. She did that in numerous of her works. She would take the most extreme, fantastical examples of oppressive collectivism as she could, and she would present that as what collectivism itself was. And then it's much easier to attack it. So this is what he's doing right here. He's creating this false narrative. Oh, these people worried about automation. These people who are saying we should discuss how far we go with automation, they're loonies. They think, machines are going to run and kill the world just because they can make nails more proficiently. It's a cheap tactic. This is intellectual dishonesty when he creates false narratives and tries to prove his point by attacking these created, overtly exaggerated examples that he puts out there.
That's kind of how it works in theory. That's not how it works in practice, even remotely. So let me sort of break it down for you. I can't believe things people say. I swear to God, the free market is like an IQ test. It's all it is. All it is.
You catch that? The free market's an IQ test. If you don't believe in a free market, you're dumb. You have a low IQ. Once again, he's trying to set the argument to his advantage by creating these false premises. Acceptance of free market is high IQ. Rejection of free market is low IQ. Hell, it could be even considered the other way, especially in modernity. I'd say the blind acceptance of a unregulated, unrestricted, completely free market with how human nature is, especially with how mass thought is, as well pointed out by Gustave Le Bon in his book The Crowd, also well pointed out by Edward Bernays in his work Propaganda, or Jacques Ellul in his work Propaganda. There's even a good BBC documentary entitled The Century of the Self.
100 years ago, a new theory about human nature was put forward by Sigmund Freud. He had discovered, he said, primitive sexual and aggressive forces hidden deep inside the minds of all human beings. Forces which, if not controlled, led individuals and societies to chaos and destruction. This series is about how those in power have used Freud's theories to try and control the dangerous crowd in an age of mass democracy. At the heart of the story is not just Sigmund Freud, but other members of the Freud family. This episode is about Freud's American nephew, Edward Bernays. Bernays is almost completely unknown today, but his influence on the 20th century was nearly as great as his uncle's. Because Bernays was the first person to take Freud's ideas about human beings and use them to manipulate the masses. He showed American corporations for the first time how they could make people want things they didn't need by linking mass-produced goods to their unconscious desires. Out of this would come a new political idea of how to control the masses. By satisfying people's inner selfish desires, one made them happy and thus docile. It was the start of the all-consuming self, which has come to dominate our world today.
It's a 6-part series, but only part 1 is relevant to this topic. All these things will emphatically point out to you that the mass mind is swayed by its passions, its desires, more so than its intellect and its logic. So if that is a reality, which it is, I don't think that can be argued, then what would be the outcome of an unrestricted market when the main goal, the driving force, is accumulation of capital? No ethics, no morals, no citizenry, just accumulation of capital. Of course, if the mass mind is led by their desires, by their passions, then that free market that's only concerned with accumulating capital, of course, will try to accumulate as much capital as they can as they feed on their lower instincts of man, because that is the biggest business. That is the easiest sell. It's easy to encourage gluttony, hedonism, individualism, consumerism, materialism. So this is what the market will gradually gravitate towards. And unfortunately, this is what most people will be consumed with their only life on this earth. So this idea that the free market is this benevolent thing that should be considered common sense, should be an IQ test on someone's intelligence, is completely ridiculous, because once again, these materialists, i.e. capitalists, they completely throw out human nature. They completely ignore the fact man is an adaptable creature, and they get accustomed to their climate. And when their climate is pornography and Big Macs, where do you think most of them are going to end up? There is great influence and sway and power in media, advertisements, the markets. So with that great power comes great responsibility. And no, you're not an idiot if you think responsibility should matter. No, you're not an idiot if you think there should be a certain amount of ethics and civility to what is produced and encouraged for us to consume. That doesn't make anyone an idiot in my book. It makes them someone with common sense.
So here's how it works. If it takes one guy a day to produce 10 nails, and then the same guy, let's just pretend, there's capital investments and more energy and so on to run the machine, but the same guy then produces 1,000 nails. What happens? Well, the price of nails goes way down. And what happens is when the price of nails goes down, you have elastic demand, which means that as the price of something goes down, more of it will be bought. So when the price of nails goes down, people buy more nails to make stuff with. And because, the guy who's using nails to build a table, the price of the table goes down because he's paying less for his nails. The price of the table goes down, the price of chairs, the price of crucifixions, sadly, the price of you name it, whatever involves nails, the price of that's going to go down.
So once again, notice the mentality. The human element is completely removed. And even the nationalist element is completely removed, because now it's not about my fellow citizens out of work. It's, hey, things are going to be cheaper now. It's Walmart. That's his belief. It's Walmart. That's good. Things are cheaper. You can buy more shit now. Things are cheaper. That's the mentality. There's a complete disconnect from the human reality to what he's talking about. Everything is supply and demand in his head. Everything's on paper. There's no human element to it at all. It's simply about, can I get things cheaper? Will it benefit me better?
Because you're paying less for nails, so you can charge less. Now, when the price of everything goes down, whereas you used to spend $100 for a table, now maybe you're only spending $95 for a table, or 98, or 97, or 90, or whatever. That extra money, you then go and spend somewhere else. Or even if you stick it in the bank then takes it and lends it out to other entrepreneurs who are creating jobs. See how this works? See why I call it a bit of an IQ test?
Oh, it's a bit of an IQ test. If you don't think banks are righteous little job creators in our society. You must be dumb. You must have a low IQ. You see how it works? Yeah, because banks are great. They're job creators. You put more money into the bank and they loan your money for someone else and they make profit off of it. And they usually loan it to people on bad deals so they can buy shitty houses that they can't even afford in the first place. And notice, still, there's no discussion on the human element. There's no discussion on the people that are out of work that now have to find new work. Everything, the first priority in his mindset is things are cheaper now. That's it, material, completely materialistic.
So when the price of goods goes down because some source material is cheaper, people have more money to spend on other things, which drives up demand for those other things which otherwise wouldn't really be there. So yes, it's true, you've lost some demand from the one guy or the couple of guys who've been thrown out of nail jobs or whatever, but it's more than made up for it by everyone else. Now,
So the explanation is, okay, this guy's out of work now, this nail maker, but now, since you can use nails to make furniture, etc., more furniture is being made because it's cheaper now to buy nails, and now there's going to be this great influx of people buying furniture now because it's $5 off. It was the example he gave. So it's going to create this tsunami of furniture buyers that's going to create all this growth in industry. But when you look at the chart of the national GDP versus median household income, we see who makes the money off automation. The working class, it's not working class people that benefit from this. And on top of that, so now the nail maker, his job is automated. Now you say, oh, the furniture industry picks up. Oh, what if a large part of the furniture industry has become automated now? And then now what? What do you do when everything, especially at a level where you're working with your hands, is becoming automated? You're having a lot more people put out of work. So your example of, or the example of, oh, okay, well, boo-hoo for the nail maker. He can go find another job. Furniture's got cheaper. More people are buying furniture now, and it's picked up the furniture market. So now a bunch of new jobs are opening up on the furniture market, which is not the case, especially with the ridiculous example he used of making tables $5 cheaper, or making furniture $5 cheaper, that's going to, cause this big influx of people buying stuff. So you have the out of work people, and you have a furniture industry who's also being automated.
Of course, is the problem. And this is a repetitive problem in thinking about the free market, talking about the free market. And it's really annoying, nails on a blackboard kind of problem, which is that the government subsidizes complaining and whining enormously. Enormously. Because you see, if you're a bunch of people who are thrown out of work because of automation, you normally, without a government being able to...
All right, let's just cut that rant off before it even starts, because he's going to go into a rant about modern liberal democratic welfare states and victimization used by the liberals and the people that preach class warfare. So this has no relevance at all to automation, but once again, he's creating that false narrative. So, and you can see in this guy's thought process and how he's trying to set the stage for his fucking shitty little argument. Instead, where the common sense is, hey, let's examine what automation is doing and what its effect is going to be on our future. Because mind you, we have a country of 300 million people. We have millions of people out of work now. We have millions of illegal people here with low-paying jobs. We have millions of people on welfare that need to be put back into the workforce. All of these people are going to be affected by automation. And you can't take someone who was picking grapes and turn them into an IT tech. If you're going to say automation will create new jobs, well, how does the grape picker become the IT tech while supporting his family while out of work at the same time and while also having to pay to school? So there's real human consequences to all these things going on. And you see these people just because they want to dogmatically support their god, capitalism, and their church, the free market, that they try to dismiss anyone who would think the other way or bring up an argument against it by trying to attach this to liberal welfare, victimization, class warfare, Marxism type mentality. If you dare say, hold on, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this automation. Let's slow this down. We don't know where automation is taking us. So
you listen to the people who are complaining about being thrown out of work, you think it's a disaster. And of course, all of the people who have jobs because the price of nails went down, right? The people who sell more furniture, right? They don't know that they're expanding their workforce to sell more furniture because as the price of furniture goes down, people buy more of it. They don't know that. Everybody who's hired doesn't know it's because the price of nails went down. So you've got this concentrated group of subsidized whiners, and then you have this diffuse group of people who benefit who can't even trace back directly where the benefits came from or what happened. And this is why you need principles, not personal stories, when you're making decisions about society.
Yes, principles. Let's look at those principles. I guess as a nationalist, my principles differ from that of an individualist and a globalist. I mean, let's face it, if you're free market, you're a globalist. I don't care what you call yourself. When I look at it, my principles, it matters to me. I mean, let's take the hypothetical case of the nail workers out of work, but the furniture industry picked up a little bit, so more jobs were there for furniture people. Well, this is the dog-eat-dog mentality of capitalism. This is the rot that eats away at the inner soul of a nation. Because, yes, now my neighbor, who may be a nail worker, or the guy down the block even, who may be a nail worker, nail producer, he's out of work. But you know what? I'm happy, because now there's more work for my furniture company that I work for. There's more job security for me now. So be happy. Oh, don't worry about these complainers, as he would call them, subsidized complainers. Don't worry about them. They're getting pushed out by automation. And on top of that, just like as the old saying go, when they're talking about the Nazis, first they came for the Jews, and they came for the Catholics, etc. Whatever. You know the saying goes. Then they came for me, but there was no one there to listen. Well, same with automation, right? So the furniture worker's laughing at the nail worker, like he doesn't give a fuck about the nail worker because his industry is doing swell right now. But guess what? Automation's coming for your job too. And earlier we went through a list, little video clips of top 10 in the near future jobs that automation will replace. There's countless amount of jobs that are going to be replaced with automation, especially at the rate technology is going now. And there's a mass sum of human people in this American country right now, and a very divided people through politics, ethnicity, income. And to think, because people are cautious about mass automation going on, replacing a mass amount of jobs when we already A, have a welfare state, B, have a large influx of illegal immigrant workers, and C, have a working class that have been stagnant for the past 60 years. Yeah, it's valid to question these things. It's these dogmatic defenses of the free market is ridiculous and has already gotten us into the situation we're in now. I mean, you want to go back to free markets and complete pure capitalism? Well, this is exactly what you'll get again throughout its process. This is the outcome of that. Because money became power, and because money was concentrated by a small number of banking interest and corporate interest, the system has given way. The free market has given way to its own monopoly. It's essentially the snake that eats itself.
And so people say, well, people are thrown out of work. Like, that's a bad thing. It's a great thing that people are thrown out of work. It's, when public executions were banned, well, public executioners didn't have a job anymore. Ooh, that's terrible. When the Nazi concentration camps were liberated, the Nazi guards were thrown out of work. And it's like, so, unemployment is not an evil, and employment is not necessarily a good. Now, you can, of course, guarantee full employment. So you can guarantee full employment very easily. You can do it in one stroke of a legislative pen. Ban all farm machinery. No more threshers, combine harvesters, you name it, right? None of the things that bind up hay or whatever it is in those weird little circular balls of twine that you see out in the countryside. I'm not a farmer, as you can tell. So you ban all farm machinery, ban trucks, ban trains. People have to carry goods on a burro, an ass, or a donkey, or on their heads for that matter, and look at that. We have full employment. But nobody...
So once again, he's ridiculing anyone who takes a stance different from his own. He goes right to that extreme. So if we look at the problem and the future of automation and want to see how it's going to affect our nation and how we can work with it, even if you want to discuss that, he's already painting you in a corner with this extreme, we want to tear everything down. We want to be like Amish people. We want to stop all automation. And when in reality, we probably do need to pull back on some of it. Maybe that is a strategic move that's going to benefit the country better. But hell, people like that aren't going to be up for it when they're trying to paint you, once again, that false narrative, putting you in that corner, mocking you again, just like his free market IQ. Oh, if you don't believe in a free market, you must be dumb. You must have a low IQ. Same with this. Oh, if you're hesitant towards automation, you want to be Amish.
People being thrown out of work is how you know the economy is progressing. Like if you look at the Middle Ages, you had this strangulation economy where no innovation was basically allowed because the guilds and the state were so powerful in controlling people's creativity, which meant you basically didn't have your own property rights. And in the Middle Ages, yeah, pretty much everyone had a job. But it was a horrifying environment. How do you know he's a king? He hasn't got shit all over him.
So once again, with this extreme leap, which, as you can see just in this 10-minute video, it's repetitive over and over again. So questioning automation is essentially wanting to return to feudal society.
This idea that automation creates unemployment, price of nails goes down, price of assembling things goes down, you end up with cheaper houses, right? You get cheaper houses. Well, absent mass immigration, of course. You end up with cheaper houses. When houses are cheaper, people spend less money on mortgages, they spend less money on rent, so they have more money to spend on other things. It's really not that complicated. Automation drives down the price of things. It can increase demand, which may mean even the same people can stay in the job, drives down the prices of things, people have more money to spend on other stuff, creates more work. Lickety-boom, all done. Now,
lickety-boom, all done. Just that simple. He wrapped it all up. Any concerns with automation have been wrapped up in that 10-minute video, and especially at the last 30 seconds of the video where he says, brings down prices, creates more work, gives more money for people to spend. But when we see, once again, the average household income, that doesn't pan out. That's not true. And then when we also see the number of unemployed people, the number of people out there seeking work and people actually sitting on welfare, and then all the undocumented people on top of that, and with many more jobs on the chopping block in the future thanks to automation, we definitely have an issue with that. As far as the claim of bringing down the price of houses, I'm not quite sure that's completely accurate. So let's look at how true that analogy is here with the housing prices going down thanks to automation. Well, we can definitely all agree since 1940, automation has definitely improved a lot, and we can all agree that it's going to improve a lot more within the next 10 to 20 years. And we see the housing prices here. Alabama, the average price was $16,800 for a house. Today, or in 2000 in Alabama, it was $85,000. So we see there's quite a difference there. The theory's not holding up true. And then we have $78 here for District of Columbia, or $78,000. District of Columbia, $157,000 now. Nevada, $20,000 in 1940s, up to $142,000 in 2000. So we see the trend in reality doesn't support the claim, which shouldn't come as no surprise, because even if it's cheaper to make something now, I mean, what's the capitalist overall goal? To make capital. Capitalism is all about pursuing capital. That's its main initiative. So even if they can make houses for cheaper or furniture for cheaper, do you really think they're going to knock off exactly how much cheaper they have to get it now to the consuming customer as well? No, of course not. Because it's about making profit. That's goal number one. And as low as they can get it, where it's still high enough to where they can make profit, where they can get you to buy it, is as low as they're willing to go. But it's always about that profit. It's simply about money, and there's nothing deeper than that. And in that sense, capitalism and communism have that in common. They are both materialistic, political, social, economic philosophies. So we see just on this topic of automation, diving into the mind of a capitalist, we see it's very material, it's very what's on the paper is what matters. It's very what affects me personally matters. There is no connection to a collective, to a group, to extended family, to a nation. There is no concern unless it physically or economically affects them themselves. And so any topic they speak on, automation, healthcare, education, immigration, it's all going to come from that perspective from them. And if they attach something to their beloved free market, like in this in this instance, automation, then they will dogmatically and blindly support automation, as you've seen throughout this video, as he set up points to ridicule, attack anyone who would take a different position, suggest their intelligence would be low, etc., and attach false narratives to anyone with a differing opinion, so they can attack these extreme false narratives. All the meanwhile, explaining everything through the process of the material buy and sell. And this is what's good or bad. This is how society determines if it's good or bad. If you can buy something for cheaper and there's more of it, that must mean it's good. That's good for society, to be able to buy more shit. Completely detached from the human element, which should be expected because capitalism itself ignores the reality of human nature. Well, at least its supporters ignore the reality of human nature as they try to prop capitalism up as some virtuous, beautiful system, when in reality, capitalism succeeds best when it feeds on its fellow man, when it feeds on the lower instincts of man. It is a whole functional system set up on picking at the low-hanging fruit. So to sum it up, in the mind of the capitalist, automation is great because you're going to get more stuff cheaper, allegedly. And if it puts people out of work, don't worry. They'll either get with it one way or another, or some new technology will come around that creates new jobs. It's that constant hope and faith that technology can keep up with man's problems of today. On the bright side, it seems we're in the last era of capitalism in America. It is definitely on its way out. No more clearer could the example be shown as in the last presidential election, when you had two wildly popular candidates in Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, both having the non-classical capitalist, conservative, libertarian message. Trump with more of a nationalistic economy, and Bernie Sanders more with the welfare state economy. The majority of Americans pick these two men over the rest of the politicians, over the fiscal conservative, the free market conservative, the libertarian. Capitalism's time has come and gone. It was fun. We all got fat. We got cancer. We got diabetes. It was a blast. It's time to move on. The only question that is now to be answered is, what do we move on to? Will it be a rational, ethical, true third position that takes the positive aspects of individualism and collectivism and combines them while discarding the negative elements? Or will it be the liberal, welfare, egalitarian, transnational state? The libertarian, the individualist, the conservative, they are going the way of the dinosaur. And although they may resist, they may come kicking and screaming into a more nationalist thought, they are just delaying the inevitable. We no longer can afford the luxury of being an individual. They will eventually be there because there is no other option besides a reactionary, nationalist, politically revolutionary, populist movement, or the neoliberals, the cultural Marxists, the international finance lackeys, the pseudo-socialists, the parliamentary socialists, the welfare state socialists. They already have a huge head start with domination in the media, in the public educational system, in pop culture, in finance, in organization, already have a huge head start. And the separated, divided, dog-eat-dog, if it's good for me, fuck everyone else, capitalist mentality, it's not a functional mentality, to survive on as a nation as in any long term, unless you judge the survival of a nation by how cheap you can buy shit, which apparently a lot of capitalists do. But if your concept of a nation, of a citizenry, of a culture, of a race, of an ethnicity, if it goes deeper than mere material numbers, then it should be clearly seen that it is a failed system. And the only thing that could stop the coming leftist insurrection is a unified, reactionary, revolutionary, political, nationalist, populist party. Only through unity are we going to be able to find victory.